quite frankly appalling.
A massive backlog of criminal cases in Aurora.
The only thing I can say is I'm sorry. The city of Aurora has apparently dropped the ball.
Denver 7, first to uncover more than 2,000 crimes waiting to be investigated.
This is just another example of the systemic failure of the leadership in our police department.
Strong winds knock out power, close ski resorts early, and kick up a lot of dust across the state.
Strong winds continue for a few more hours. I'll let you know when calmer conditions will prevail.
And election deniers get served and serve up lies at the state capitol.
Thank you, everybody.
First at 5, strong winds are blowing through Colorado. Thank you for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. We have seen hurricane force gusts across the state today. Among the strongest we saw, 116 miles per hour. That was in Fraser over Berthoud Pass.
And these winds also closed plenty of our ski resorts early today. This is a live look at Loveland ski area. It closed around 10 this morning. Other resorts that had to shut down early include Echo Mountain, Monarch, and Steamboat Boat. So you know the winds were bad. Here to tell us more about how long these winds will last, meteorologist Mike Nelson.
What a day.
Oh, I'll tell you what, strong jet stream way up here at about 30,000 feet, just cranking over the state of Colorado. The good news is it's moving out.
Good.
Nice.
See you
It
later.
would take a long time to fly from, say, here to Seattle today with those winds coming up. Let me show you some of the peak winds we had. Berthoud Pass, we talked about 116 miles per hour. Up at Peak 8 at Breckenridge, 103. Tabernash, 98. Up on Loveland Pass, 80. That was certainly enough to close down the lifts at Loveland Ski Area. And at NCAR, 76 miles per hour. Netherlands, 72. Georgetown, 65. And they're still going pretty strong. Right now on Berthoud Pass, 56 miles per hour. 30 up at Estes Park. And those winds are whipping up toward Granby and Kenosha Pass down to Leadville as well. We still have plenty of advisories, watches, warnings in effect all across the state. Very, very colorful map. The fire weather warnings continue until 8 o'clock tonight. Winds are going to subside a little tonight. There's not a ton of moisture with this system, just a little bit of light rain and snow, so we're not going to see much out of it. Here's the futurecast night. Snow showers continue in the mountains, strong winds on the plains. The strong winds will shift a little farther east by early morning into tomorrow. Not as windy over the western part of the state. That is some good news. We have a great looking 3 to 5 day forecast. I'll talk about the rest of the 7 day coming up for you in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Mike. An astounding backlog of cases, more than 2,000 crimes never investigated in Aurora.
Aurora City Council now is demanding accountability. Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kovaleski broke this story. Jen, these crimes include murder and child sex crimes.
Shannon and Jacqueline, these are serious crimes going back to last year. The 4-page report details a massive records backlog in Aurora. This is all happening as there is an ongoing effort to force out Aurora's police chief. Multiple sources continue to say Chief Wilson is out, but her exit is still being negotiated through an attorney. An outside agency conducted this report. It found more than 2,500 crimes were stuck in a records backlog and therefore not investigated for months. Aurora City leaders are now demanding accountability.
It's concerning to me that we have apparently several thousand crimes that were committed in our city and haven't been investigated yet because what I consider a lack of internal controls.
This isn't just records, this is victims that we're talking about.
Does there need to be accountability?
There needs to be accountability. Within our records department, anybody who was in the line of command that knew about this and failed to act should be held accountable.
The report says it allowed hundreds of suspects who otherwise could have been investigated and in custody, free to commit more crimes. City Manager Jim Twomley called the report alarming and unacceptable. The city says it has taken steps to fix the problem. They've gotten through about half of the backlog cases since the report came out last month. Shannon?
And Jen, you also spoke with Chief Wilson's attorney.
Her attorney calls the release of this report interesting timing and says it appears to be an effort to blame the chief. She says Wilson inherited this problem and has been raising concerns about it for a long time. We will have much more with the chief's attorney tonight at 6. Shannon?
All right, we will see you with that at 6. Thanks for your work on this, Jennifer. And you can read our entire report on the backlog of police cases in Aurora right now on thedenverchannel.com. Well, Brighton police are asking for your help locating a possible kidnapping victim. 20-year-old Riley Hines was last seen with her boyfriend, Orlando Romero. It was this morning near Platte Valley Medical Center. They were in an '08 gray Dodge Charger, no license plate. If you spot this car or have any information, please ask that you call them.
The White House is expected to announce new sanctions against Russia tomorrow. So today, Ukrainian President Zelensky made a desperate plea to the UN after horrifying images were released showing corpses along the streets in Ukraine. President Zelensky is also accusing Russia of taking more than 2,000 Ukrainian children.
The massacre in our city of Bucha is only one, unfortunately, only one of many examples of what the occupiers have been doing on our land.
The UN says an estimated 11 million people have been evacuated from Ukraine since Russia invaded the country. Misinformation is being called out, so now election deniers are rallying in front of the Colorado State Capitol.
Some familiar faces were there today, like Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters, who was released from jail last month. Also, MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, who actually, while he was there, was served court documents. And we also sent Denver 7 political reporter Megan Lopez to the Capitol.
Megan, they are still questioning these certified elections.
Yeah, that's right, Jacqueline and Shannon. Tina Peters and Mike Lindell, and really many of the speakers that we heard from today, repeated some of those same claims about election fraud that we've heard for more than a year and a half at this point, that have been debunked by both election officials across the country as well as multiple audits. Nevertheless, they brought that same message to the steps of the state capitol today ahead of the midterm elections. Perhaps the windy weather was a warning. The calm before a storm of people gathered on the steps of the Colorado State Capitol for an election truth rally. About 200 people wearing shirts and hats, holding signs and waiting for the event's headliners to take the stage. Before they did, though,
is everyone ready to fight for election integrity?
Several Republican state lawmakers spoke to the crowd. One by one, Representatives Dave Williams, Mark Baisley, Ron Hanks, and Richard Holtorf took to the podium to speak about their distrust in the very system that got them elected.
About whether there is election integrity.
Representative Dan Wook, meanwhile, didn't speak but stood in the crowd while a few Democratic lawmakers watched the rally briefly from the balcony of the Capitol. Senate President Steve Finberg also briefly stopped by the event. He's running the election security bill that's in direct response to Tina Peters. Lindell,
I'm here because your elections were corrupt.
Has been leading the charge behind the debunked election fraud claims ever since 2020. He spoke at length with reporters, getting abrasive at times over the questions he was being asked.
Another stupid question by a stupid journalist.
At one point, a man started trying to chant over Lindell, and rallygoers surrounded him, but police were able to intervene.
That we caught them in their dirty deeds.
During her speech, Tina Peters talked about the elections in her county and once again falsely claimed there were irregularities. She's facing 7 felony charges and 3 misdemeanor counts in relation to her alleged tampering with the election equipment last year. The Colorado GOP publicly called for her to suspend her campaign for Secretary of State, but so far she's refused.
Tina Peters doesn't know the meaning of the word honor.
Down the hill, a handful of counter-protesters held signs for passing cars.
I think we've heard this all before, and all of it's been debunked and disproven.
Both sides now focusing on the upcoming midterm elections. Both sides saying the future of democracy is at stake. So maybe that windy weather is in fact a warning sign of the turbulent election ahead. So we reached out to the Colorado GOP today, as well as the House and Senate Republicans, to ask them to comment on this, because there were some members of the Republican Party that you saw that were here today, but all of them refused. Lindell, as you saw and as you heard, was allegedly saying at the event today that he was served a lawsuit. We saw a man hand him a manila envelope full of documents, not quite sure if that's the lawsuit that he was served. Lindell also claimed to reporters today that he's donated about $800,000 to Tina Peters' defense fund. However, Colorado's law says that elected officials can't accept any more than $65 from anybody that's not a family member or a friend. So we'll have to see how those claims play out and whether they're true and whether anything actually comes of that. For now, I'm live from the Colorado State Capitol. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
All right, thank you, Megan. Now, a bill making its way through the state legislature is focused on adding more security around Colorado elections. The Colorado Election Security Act was introduced by Democrats last month. It would increase security measures by requiring key card access to voting equipment rooms and implementing year-round surveillance. It would also require more training and certifications for election officials. And finally, it would tighten rules around the election officials themselves, saying they cannot serve if they've been convicted of an election crime and can't spread misinformation about elections.
Uber is about $75 from Union Station to here.
RTD staffing problems causing more delays, and now city council members are getting involved with finding a solution.
We need people to ride more public transit, but we also need a reliable system to get there.
And after a teen's bogus claim goes viral,
I got out of a DUI and got let off with a warning.
the Jefferson County deputy who pulled her over shares his side of the story.
I had no indications based on my training that she was impaired. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.